But first, how about we just take a nice breath and feel the beautiful energy vortex that is within yourself, within your soul, that you are this incredible light being. And in this greatness that you are, feel how you are truly connected, first of all, to Mother Earth, this incredible light energy cord going down to Mother Earth. Breathe into that. Feel her as she lovingly waters your roots and gives you words of praise, words of admiration. Feel that connection that you have to Mother Earth right now. And feel that beautiful energy coming back up through that cord, back up through all that you are, the incredible light being that you are. Beautiful. And feel that again as it comes up through the crown, through the top of your head. And feel it as it goes straight up to the divine source and all that there is to infinity and beyond. And as that energy connection, that beautiful light connection that we all have together right now, feel as though we're inside of this beautiful umbrella and how each one of us is connected to one another. Taking a moment to truly step into that heart space. Picture your heart and make that conscious decision to step into your heart. And even if you're not picturing it, just know that making that decision to do that is enough to actually put that into motion. Asking to connect with your higher self, truly as simple as saying, I'd like to connect to my higher self. I feel as though we're like the knights at the round table. What a beautiful scene. Everybody equal. Asking to connect with your little you as well. And also bring some playdom to the table. And while we're at it, it's so comical that I said play dumb because they actually want to have some Play-Doh. So feel how your little you is sitting with you, possibly on your knee, on your lap, beside you. And that they're very willingly playing with Play-Doh and they're just truly just playing, manipulating that around and creating something specifically for you. Feel the energy of that, feel the love. And while you're watching your little you, feeling the presence of your higher self, know that all those parts of us are here for the highest good, for the most benevolent reasons. And that they are first and foremost our very intimate personal guides. That beautiful higher self is that one who just wants so much incredibleness for us. And that little you is that one who so desperately wants to play, but in some cases has had some words or actions that maybe shut them down a little bit. So asking that little you sweeps away the debris of those words. That they're recycled back to Mother Earth through that beautiful energy cord that we have going down to her. And as they're recycled back, these new words are coming up for each of you. You're valuable. You're worth it. You're loved. You are allowed to speak your personal truth. Even if it's just to yourself at this time. And give yourself and each of them an incredible hug. And just feel your arms wrapping around each of them as they wrap their arms around you as well. Mm. Feel the intimacy of that. And you may feel a tingling in your crown at the top of your head. And that's just that beautiful connection that you have with the divine source. And the angels passing on their most benevolent love to you as well. And feel how incredible this sacred container that we're all in at this moment. That all of this is information that is going to you, that incredible light being that you are, as well as to your higher self, and that little you. Feel the joy that's in the little you right now. And as you do that, we're just going to let our little yous know that they are welcome to continue to play with the Play-Doh, that they are welcome to have whatever input they would like to have during this. As we give our attention to our higher self. And thank them as well. Thank the little you. Beautiful. And so it is. Whoever you are here, I just really appreciate that each and every one of you guys is here. Thank you very much for being here. I love to talk about the higher self and the little you and about loving yourself. Essentially, when we talk about the higher self, there's three parts of us. There's the higher self, the physical body, and the little you. And you could really feel how we brought all three of those parts together very nicely. That group is who we are, and that group is so important. What happens is the power of three is what it's all about. There is, as you see across the top of here, there's the me, myself, and I. There's the little you, the physical body, the higher self, the mind, body, and soul, the past, present, and future, the beginning, middle, and the end into infinity and beyond. And when you're working with any of these, it's really important to understand that all these pieces come together very importantly. That physical body, that myself, the body is right here, right now. It's the present, and it's the part of us that's really in the middle of everything. Our physical body and what's going on in our physical body is kind of in this this little wave, I guess you could say, this little threesome again, I guess, for lack of a better word. And that middle part, that present moment, that body, that physical body, myself, is being affected by things. It's being affected by the little you, for starters. And the little you is very much of the ego, and it's the past, and it's the beginning of things. So when we have traumatic events occur, or when we have had things occur in our childhood to our little you, that is that part of us, our mind, our ego, our past, and the beginning of things that are affecting us today in this present moment, in the here and now. So when I talk about the I and the higher self, the soul, into the future and into infinity and beyond, those parts are the part that are like the higher self, like as I mentioned before, really truly wants to be, wants our physical body and our little you to be in this great state of positive things happening to us and manifesting, and truly just being able to speak our personal truth and feel the connection in a much stronger sense. And that's what our soul is. Our soul has created this purpose of learning all these lessons, and that's what those lessons are. Those lessons are the things that were happened to us either as a child with the little you, or during our lifetimes since being a child, as well as the things that have happened in our past lives that are possibly still coming up in this present life. And we have the ability to reshape that, rewrite that energy, and move into the future, and help evolve that lesson that the soul came here to learn, and move forward from that, and just create this incredible future, is essentially what I have discovered with this. And it was really interesting when I put this lesson together for the paid membership, and I will be also recreating it for the metaphysical school that I'm a part of, and it will be available on there as well. And what I love about this is just how I was guided by my guides through the steps of this. As I created this higher self lesson, that's how these things really became so apparent. For years, I have honestly been saying mind, body, and soul, past, present, and future, beginning, middle, and end into infinity, as well as the me, myself, and I. And I didn't realize for all those years that I was saying that, just how each of these are all knit and sewn and weaved and just really brought together in a beautiful kaleidoscope. And it's it's what we are in this moment, and how we move forward from that. Feel free to unmute yourselves and really just dive in and ask a question, or and truly it can just be about anything, because it all comes back to that higher self and to the little you, and just the woven practice of how it all unfolds. Anybody?
Hi, beautiful friend.
Hello,
Smihar.
Yeah.
Okay, the day-to-day life crisis. How do we deal? Like, when you say go within, so go within and bring the pyramid power that you have said. Sometimes it's hard to visual pyramid. Is there something better that you can ask? Can we ask angels?
For sure. You can ask angels. The pyramid power that Mihar is talking about is where you set up pyramids all around you, top and bottom, and in all four directions, and then on above the earth yourself and below the earth as well. And Mihar, what I really wanted to let you know is all of this work, when you essentially are setting the intention, you don't necessarily have to see a pyramid or feel that a pyramid's there. Just understand that it is there. Okay.
Okay, like intention. Just make an intention.
That's right. And
beautiful.
There are so many different ways of thinking out there, and I know that at the beginning of 2019, at the end of 2018, people were coming in and going, oh, we're not supposed to set intentions anymore. But truly, I mean, you know what, if I don't put my mind to, where I think about these pyramids, those pyramids aren't going to create themselves. I have to actually have that thought in my mind, and that's setting an intention. So just going with that process and doing that work of thinking about that and that area that you would like it is enough to have it actually occur. Okay. That's how we manifest things. You know, like you guys have, it's so absolutely incredible how powerful our human mind is. And with that, when it comes into a much better connection with that heart space and has a better balance, you'll find that the things that you're manifesting in your life are much better. So it comes down to the words that we're saying as well. So Mehar, when you're talking about setting up this pyramids, then I know that you are doing it with the best intentions, that you are truly wanting to express your love to come through these, as well as angels' love to come through these, and to clear that negative energies out of that area that you're working with. And that is just such a beautiful balance, because what you're doing when you do that is you are talking from a heart space, and you are doing something with your mind as well, because you're actually thinking about each of those things. So you've got this incredible balance. On our day-to-day life, when we have things going on in our life, what I have discovered is that now that I am where I'm at in my own evolvement, in my own journey, in my own path, it is really incredible how we are very, like, you know, people say, well, I don't even know how to word this, because it's just, it's so big and yet it's so small. So, you know, people complain about their days, about their lives. And when they're complaining about it, all they're doing about it is literally continually manifesting that life, because they're complaining about it. And when you make that step into starting to talk positively about your life, and using the I am statements, and shifting the energy into things which are much more positive, then our life starts to unfold and become much more positive. Because if we look for good things show up. But if we complain about bad things all the time, or hard parts of our life all the time, then that just continually is the focus. So it's really is being manifested. Do you guys understand where I'm going with that?
Beautiful.
Okay.
Beautiful. Thank you.
I wanted to let each and every single one of you guys know that when you are, you know, when your guides have shown you something, or when something's been suggested to you, you know, like that self-love, you know, the I am love. And I'm just going to breathe my way through that so you get a sense of the feeling of that as well. I am love. I am loved. I am loving. I love me. When it has been suggested to be saying this and breathing your way through it, you know what? If you do it today and then you don't do it again for months, it is like tying your shoelaces. When you're learning to tie your shoelaces and you try today and you don't try again for months, everything that you learned today doing that, tying up with the shoelaces, is long gone months from now. It's literally starting all over. So when your guides are suggesting to you to do small processes, or if I suggest to do small processes to help you to go through things, then actively doing these processes on a daily basis is critical for the time being. Because right now what's happening is, so many of us, our mind, our ego, our little you has got such major control of our lives because of things that have happened in either past lives or in this lifetime. And when they have that control, then that's when we have the stress, that's when we have the anxiety, that's when we have the negative thoughts, and our life seems to be kind of spiraling, possibly out of control, or just not going in the flow that we would like it to be going in. So right now, what we have to do is allow that heart, allow that higher self to really start to shine in a much bigger way than we allow the mind and the little you to do it. Because what we need to do is have that balance shift from that ego and mind and little you all the way so it's completely the reverse for a little while, where it's the higher self and the heart space. Because once this essentially, I don't like to say regains control, but is flowing with grace and ease, I think would be the best way to say that. Once your higher self and your heart space is flowing with grace and ease, then it's so much easier to bring it back down to a really nice balance and be able to function a lot more smoothly on a day-to-day basis in a more positive environment. But because we have lived our life for so long with the little you and our ego and mind affecting us, some people have major anxiety. My daughter had major anxiety for a number of years, like taking pills in the whole 9 yards. Like she would drive to the mall to go to the dentist and then get there and not even be able to get out of the vehicle because her little you, her mind is just telling her that she doesn't need, she's such a basket case by the time she got to the mall that she wouldn't even be able to get out of the vehicle to find the dentist because she had no physical capabilities at that time to do that. And she would phone and just be like, I don't even know how to get home at this point and stuff. So that's that little you, that's that ego, that's that mind allowing all that anxiety and stress to kind of really take control. And, when you work, like I've heard, she's done work both with myself, in those terrible moments where she just really needs help right now. But she's also done work with a couple of different types of other types of professionals, I guess I could say, like a physio, a psychiatrist, and then somebody that does EFT, and then somebody that does these rapid eye movement. And it was really interesting because I heard all of the tools that were being given to her, they all came down to the same sort of thing. It was all refocusing that mind so that it was doing something else. And it's so interesting to me because when I lived for years in severe agony with my dislocated pelvis and all the recovery period for half a decade after that recovery period, that's what I found worked the most, was when I was in so much pain that if I could refocus my mind, I would actually be able to get out of that major amount of pain, that it would decrease substantially because of it, because I had refocused my mind. So that's what I'm asking you guys to do with this higher self and the heart space, is just allowing that to refocus. So sometimes when we're having those moments where we're very stress related and anxious and anxiety is coming up and we feel like we can't function or something, I have often said, just stop and take a breath. Because even that stopping and taking a breath is making that connection with your lungs, that are making that connection with your heart, which is making that connection with your higher self. Even though you aren't physically going, I'd like to connect with my higher self, you're still making that connection with your higher self when you make that beautiful point of stopping and taking a breath. Okay? So when you have that higher self and that heart-based stuff occurring, then the next steps are intriguing because you can do a number of different things. You could, the professionals that my daughter saw would say, literally count all the corners in your room, in the room that you're standing in, just so that you're now taking it one step further and continually occupying your mind, so that your mind isn't going, well, you can't do this. Well, we can't do this. Well, whatever your mind happens to be throwing at you at that moment. So how does this resonate for you guys? Are you understanding what I'm saying?
Yes.
Thank you, Cynthia.
Can you hear me, Sandra?
I can. Thank you for
Yes,
joining us.
I can. Yes, I understand what you're saying.
Okay. Now, would anybody like to ask some questions or talk about their experiences so that we can all learn from that and discover how to move on from some of these?
Can you speak a little bit if you have a family member who you see as stressed like that, but isn't interested in, and not necessarily getting sucked into a reaction, but being able to still understand where that person's coming from and why they're stressed, and being able to still set a boundary?
Sheila, I absolutely love that question and the number of questions there, because from personal experience with my own husband, I can speak to that. And, you know, so it's almost like, where do I start? Because when I look at where I am in my marriage now versus where I've been in my marriage, I am stunned that my husband and I even got married. Because it's like, I'm just so surprised. I'm seriously, I'm just so surprised.
I understand.
So let me speak to that in a different way now. So essentially, when I started to do the things that I do, okay, I started at home with just a hands-on Reiki type of healing and orthobionomy type of healing, and you know, he was if he suffered an injury, he would let me work with him. As I have developed, especially since 2015, 2016, and coming into these later years here, my own spiritual growth has just like it's a crazy how far I've come in the last couple of years. And he has gone so far as to go, I don't believe that stuff. I really don't believe that stuff at all. And 2 years ago, he was in the state of mind where I'm going to die in my job, and I hate my job, but I have no hope and I have no life, and this is what my life is going to be like. And I found that a couple of the easiest things that you can do with regards to anybody in your life, business-wise, personal relationships, extending friends, what have you, the best thing that you can do for any of them is, in one essence, is just truly let them be on their own path, doing their own thing, without having your expectations of how you want their life or your life together to be. And that's a huge, huge, huge one. Okay. So what I did was, in 2016, I went away and I did this course. And I've spoken about this a couple of times with a few of you. And essentially what happened is I wanted to know, what could I do to help my husband's and my relationship? Because when I left to go to this course that I'm talking about, he was so mad at me that I was going to this, because first of all, he totally didn't believe in any of it, nor did he believe that we had the money for me to go do this. And I could rattle off, 10, 15 different things around that whole thing. But it wasn't just that, it was a accumulation of my continual spiritual growth and his being stagnant in that spot of where he was. And I wanted to know, when I went to this course, what could I do to help my marriage change? And I guess that could be in any essence. I could say, what could I do to help my relationship with my kid? What could I help to change my relationship with my boss? It could have been anybody. It just happened to be the one with my husband. Okay. So what I discovered is this guidance came in, and I was told to let go. And nothing is as humbling as, and it brings up a lot of emotion in me, guys. So nothing is so humbling as laying on the floor with 16 other people standing around you, sobbing your heart out because you think your guides want you to get a divorce. And that's not, when I married my husband, that's not what I ever dreamed would happen. I thought I was going to be in a rocking chair in a senior's home with him or whatever, like we would be together for life. So I was stunned that that's what they said to me. I literally went to where I was staying that night and just let it go. I just, let that whole, just the emotions of everything. I just kind of, went, okay, I'm just going to let that be and see what unfolds. And by the next morning, I realized that it actually had absolutely nothing to do with getting a divorce. It actually had to do with me letting go of my expectations on my marriage. And what I did was, there's a whole long story behind this, which I don't have all that amount of time to tell you guys it. And I should probably do a video of it so that it's on my private Facebook group so you guys can hear more about it. But essentially what it came down to is I came home, I spoke to him. I told him that I was destroying our marriage because of my expectations on our marriage, and that I was making the choice to let him know this, because I didn't have to let him know that, but I wanted him to know that that's what the case was, and that we really needed to take a step back from our relationship for that moment and just work at being friends again, because we had deteriorated to the point where we weren't going to be together by the end of summer. Essentially, it was pretty bad. And I started to very actively let go of what my expectations were on my marriage. Okay, so I'll tell you what they were at that point. And when you hear them, it's going to be like, wow, that is just so simple, and yet it was so profound. So for me, what it was I knew my husband was going to get up in the morning and go to work, but before he went to work, he'd give me a kiss when he got out of bed. He gave me a kiss when he got home from work, and he gave me a kiss when he went to bed at night. 3 kisses a day. I can guarantee you I will get 3 kisses a day. However, I am a very, I didn't realize that I was such an empath at that time, and I just wanted to have so much more personal displays of affection. I wanted to be held. I wanted to be hugged. I would like to have been kissed more, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So what I did was I made a very huge shift in my way of thinking on those expectations of those 3 kisses, that I was going to be okay with however he was capable of displaying affection to me, because he shouldn't have to give me affection because I want affection. That I should, if I step back and be okay with what he's capable of giving me, then what happened was, you know what, there's been absolutely no change in those 3 kisses. I get 3 kisses a day still. However, the way I feel about those 3 kisses has changed so dramatically, it isn't even funny. I mean, you know what? My dropping those expectations saved our marriage. It saved our marriage. Okay. So from there, what I did was I heard something, and I know that I've spoken about this with at least one of you in our group today. I heard this saying on Dr. Phil, where he spoke about when your spouse or partner comes home from work, don't ask them how their day is, because the last thing they want to do is talk about their day. And the last thing they also want to do is hear how bad your day was. So you're not supposed to go, get. And this could go with talking to your mother, Maria. It could be talking with your spouse, Nehar, and it could be talking with your child. It could be talking with your boss. It doesn't really matter who you're talking with, okay? So what I did instead was, when he came in the door, I chose to just feel this really good spot in my heart. I'd make that beautiful connection with my heart space. I'd even go so far as to think of a memory where I was really happy, whether he was in it or not was immaterial, but it was how I felt in my heart. And I would just hug him when he walked in the door. And for the first 4 or 5 days, there was, you know, yeah, he'd put his arms around me, but on the 4th or 5th day, I felt his heart respond to mine. And we now have this incredible connection every time we hug, because I made that effort at the beginning in January of 2017. That's when I started to do that hug thing, and it's just been incredible. And it's so powerful. It's so powerful when you let go of expectations, because what I did with letting go of those expectations was I allowed him to then express his love for me in any manner that he wanted to, rather than me going, okay, this is how I want you to express your love. It's just in this little arrow, this right here. This is all the space I'm giving it to you to express your love, is just right here, because this is what I want you to do, is just right here. And now, instead of having that expectation, he has all this room to kiss me in the morning. And I'm telling you, you know what? I used to get this doink where it almost hurt my cheek when he kissed me, because that he knew that I had expectations, even though he consciously didn't know, he subconsciously knew. Okay. So that's where I'm again talking about this higher self, the little you, and that physical body, and all of this, how it all comes together. When we personally evolve and let go of expectations and do things around ourselves to better and improve ourselves, the other things happen very naturally with our partners, spouses, parents, etc., etc., etc. How does that sound, Sheila? Does that give you some tools to work with, or do you want to narrow that down even a little bit further?
No, that's helpful. Some of it is with the stuff that I've been doing. I can recognize how there's stress that gets brought home, and not reacting to that.
Okay.
But sometimes it's almost like if you don't react, there's like continuing to push from the other person, like wanting a reaction.
So yes, it does. It makes perfect sense. So there are definitely things that you can be doing in those cases. And it takes courage. It takes courage and it takes strength. Okay. Because it's you are recognizing that they're pushing to get a reaction. The best thing you could do is just in your own self, stop, take a breath, and just feel that, okay, that's their path. I am fine without reacting, and I am choosing to either step back or literally walk away. Okay? Because they too have to start to like, okay, so like myself, if you're like myself, like, I don't know if you've been married as long as I have, but for any amount of time that you've either been with somebody or married to somebody or have worked with somebody, you have developed this type of thing. And it's just like I said about that little you. They've had decades in some cases to affect us. Just like we've been in our marriage for however many months, years, decades. They have affected us like this, and we've always done this reaction. So you know what? It's now you who has to stop, take a breath, and stop your reaction so that they can stop their own behavior. But without us going, you need to stop, we're not telling them what to do. It's us making the choice that we personally are no longer going to react to that. And yes, it is difficult. It is difficult. And honestly, it will come to a point where you feel comfortable enough to actually, and I'm not saying this is going to happen today, and I'm not saying it's going to happen next month, but believe me, it's well worth it. When you my hands are on fire talking about this. This is how powerful this stuff is. Okay, Sheila, and every single one of you. When you actually make that point of stopping and taking a breath and deciding not to be in that reaction, you are already starting a positive change to occur. One is yourself. because you are now standing in your personal truth of not wanting to be involved in that reaction and of wanting to have a better, something better occur instead. So by you stopping, they no longer have you to bump against. They just have this open space that they're going into, and you've given them space to, it may be a while, it may not be, like I said, today, that you'll notice a shift in how that happens. But by you consistently, and this, here I go again, consistency, right? It's by you consistently making that choice to stop and not react. And it will come to a point, and it's comical because there are things that have happened in my marriage where I'll go downstairs and my husband's doing something and he's like, and I'm like, wow, that was me mirroring you, husband. That wasn't me. That was me mirroring you. And and then I'll walk away. This isn't something to do today, Sheila, but it's something to be when you get to the point where you're aware that you have done the work and you aren't reacting the way you are, but in that moment, say 2-3 months down the road, you suddenly react, but you've made all this progress to get to the point where you're not reacting. When you do react, you'll be able to recognize that that's what that is, because right now that's what you're doing. You're mirroring him. And what, you know what, when we talk about mirror work, I know I personally am not going to stand in front of a mirror and talk to myself about being, love and all, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But here it is coming up, right? And it's because of that reaction is happening because of something within yourself. It's not because of that person, right? We constantly hear this. We constantly hear that, you know what, if my husband came home from work and he's having a bad day, but I've had a wonderful day, and all of a sudden I'm just being this glum person. Well, why is what he's doing affecting me, right? What's happening in myself that's causing that effect, that's causing that reaction? So it's going deeper. Okay. And just to let you know that when I walked back up the stairs that day that I said that, oh, I'm mirroring you, he came back up like an hour later and we were fine. Like nothing, like he didn't come up and go at me to further the conversation or to further the fight. Okay. Because that's essentially what we're doing is, you know what, if they don't have somebody to react against or with or whatever, then there is no reaction. Okay. It is a far better reaction to have that incredible space to let something positive flow into. And in fact, you could actually think when you stop that reaction, when you personally take that breath and stop that reaction, you could just go, you know what? I'm hugging them with this big, incredible color, and just do that and just see what happens instead. Doesn't that feel fun? It feels a lot better, doesn't it? Yeah. Right on. Everybody breathe into that. Yeah. Very powerful. Thank you, Sheila. That was very good. Very good. Hi, Barbara.
Hi, I just wanted to say thank you, and I'm glad to be here, and I'm enjoying listening, and I'm just reflecting on what you just said. It's like having the freedom to choose to whether engage or not, and then I'm just thinking about the deeper levels of empathic nature too, that to learn to discern when it is in fact someone else's stuff and when it isn't, and how the overlays happen, and it's such a dance, and so it's and how important that breath is, and that pause to connect, or like in your language, the three places, to find out where is this coming from, and where is it going to,
Yeah.
and how's it weaving and dancing with all of that. So Yeah, I really appreciate it. But
Yeah.
I know I am on the quiet side here and my video was off, but I wanted to just come in and say thank you. And it was just totally a divine order or a miracle that I happened to find out at like 5 minutes, or I'm in Eastern time, so like I don't know, it was like 5 minutes or something before today that I happened to find out that you were doing this right now. So I was like, yay, this is so cool. So I just wanted to thank you.
You're welcome. You know what? We're all holding space together, and I can feel the emotion coming off of a lot of you. And Barbara, it is so accurate. What you're saying there too is that it's what every single one of us has to. You know, we're not walking through this life. Even those people who are having incredible lives, there are stuff going on that we're not aware of, you know, and it is truly, I am often amazed at where I feel things. Okay, for instance, I have I've been into this store in the city 3 hours from me, and when I walked in there, I literally was, but like it was, you had no choice but to walk in this door and come out this door, just the way it was set up, and you had to actually do this loop through the store to get out the other door. And in this store is thousands of pieces of articles of people from many eras. So it's not a flea market, but it's not a high-end antique store either. It's more like, you know, one of those little places that you find cups and saucers, kids' toys, hat pins, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And the energy in there was crazy. Like I had to leave, and it took me probably 25-30 minutes to actually calm down and realize that it was the store entirely. And yet I can go into a hospital, a massive hospital, and be in an area where I'm not affected at all. And yet there's, you know, babies being born here, there's people passing away here, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it is really starting to truly, like you said, understand which of this is mine and which isn't. So I don't know if any of you caught on, I think only some of you are on my private page. I did a trip with my husband here recently, and we were down in bottom of Montana and Wyoming, and we went to Little Bighorn. Wow, what an incredible, incredible place to go. And when I got out of the vehicle, I was instantly, you know, felt like I really need to do a live. I really need to do a live and talk to people about this. And at that moment, though, I guess I would say I was illiterate or uneducated because I didn't understand what had happened there. So here I am walking through hundreds of gravestones, and just like the emotion that was coming off these gravestones was just incredible. And I'm you know, weeping, and I'm just, you know, I'm talking about how, you know, this is a primarily Caucasian cemetery, and you know, my lineage, believe it or not, is I am Treaty Indian, and so there's, you know, that lineage is there, that there was possibly people in my lineage that were involved in that area, in that fight to some degree. Yellow Pound Blanket was supposedly spoke with Custer, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But what I found out afterwards, when I went into the building and I was talking to that guy, not that guy, when I was talking to an actual official who was there, who was like the historian of the area, and he was telling us about this cemetery. This cemetery, yes, there may have been some of the people who were actually killed in this Little Bighorn fight, but mostly it was 25 forts. So like Fort William, and I'm just throwing names out there, I don't know what they're called, Fort William, Fort McLeod, et cetera, et cetera. It was all of these forts, 25 of these forts, the cemeteries at them, as they closed down or whatever, they brought those people to this cemetery and buried them there. And on top of that, they also brought in other soldiers who, I noticed one headstone there that was as recent as 2017. So all of, all these emotions of people who are still living, whose spouse, brother, nephew, uncle have passed away, was at this cemetery. It wasn't about Little Bighorn at all. It was about the people who had actually died in more recent years. So once I understood that, that was really intriguing. As I walked through the Little Bighorn area, I'm so grateful for my husband because of the growth that he's done. I wanted to highlight something else as well for you, Sheila, is when I realized what I want to do with my life and how productive I could actually create my life to be, but really wanting my husband to be a part of that, and knowing that we have this incredible link in that we mountain bike together, and we are that's our lifestyle, that's our life, that's our life is mountain biking. What I am doing is creating my business to accommodate traveling all over the world mountain biking. And when I really started to get on board with this 2 years ago in 2017, I actually said to him, this would be a lot easier to manifest if you would get on board with me. Because at that point, remember I said, all he thought he was going to do was die at his job because he hated his job and he hated life. Well, that man, just by that simple phrase, and I've never nitpicked at him. He is so aware of how I am making changes in my business, in my life. And just watching him grow because of that, he has literally come into that shifting. One of the things when I would phone him at work, he would go, "Oh, I'm living the dream." And I'd be like, "Well, you know what? You have talked about dying at that job. Is that really what your dream is to die at that job? Can you please switch what you're saying to be something a lot more positive?" And he goes, "Well, I have no idea how to do that." So he quit saying that though. So now he would now he would say something along the lines of, "I'm just waiting for the end of the day to come so I can come home," or something like that. But just shifting, he's started to do all these small little shifts because I've started to recognize little points where I'm able to say something to him. And I say it only once. I don't continually nitpick at him, right? So I just wanted to bring that to your attention. And now when we did this Wyoming trip, to have him turn and look at me and see how I am being impacted by all of this emotion that's going on in the energy of these people that has nothing to do with anything but people dying, natural deaths or whatever. He's able to come over and support me because he now sees me and sees who I am. So there is hope, each and every one of you guys. There is hope. It's giving them the room to let them see, but dropping back and dropping your expectations. Okay. So as we were going through this area at Little Bighorn, there was like grave markers kind of all over the place where there weren't necessarily the bodies were there anymore. They just had put markers of so-and-so. They didn't even have names. They just said, 7th Cavalry died here June 25th or 26th, 1980, whatever year it was. Not 1980, 1880, whatever year it was. And they had red ones for the Indians. And when I walked into the building and was talking with the historian, I was like, well, what about the Indians? Like, I was outraged. Like, what about the Indians? Like, here's all these Caucasians and that. What about the Indians? And the guy was so good. He was like, well, you know what? The Indians, as best as we can count, maybe 60 people died that were native. But we really have no way of knowing because the native took care of their people. They literally went in and brought their people out immediately. Well, the Americans literally left all those bodies there and left, right? So the Americans, the 7th Cavalry, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it goes to show just kind of how interesting things are for shifting the mindset. Like, I went in there thinking, man, I can't believe that they're so so pumped up on what the 7th Cavalry did. What about the Indians? And yet I didn't realize that actually the Indians had taken care of their own. That's why there's no real record of the Indian side of that, right? Not as profound, not as evident. The part that I found was the most, where I had the most, short of that cemetery, when I went to, as I was doing this walk around, like I said, there was all these little stones, et cetera, saying that a soldier died here or an Indian died here, et cetera, et cetera. And then we went up onto where Custer actually made the last stand, where these people, that last however many actually died. And the emotion of that area was so profound. And I was really overwhelmed with that emotion. And I'll tell you a little bit about what it was there in just a moment. But I did want to really make a point of saying that when you are being affected so profoundly by other emotion, whether you know it's yours or not, the best thing you can do is stop and take that breath and stamp your feet on the ground, or think of the energy cord going to Mother Earth and above you, or think about your chakras and just this, it's not like you have to bring in tons of color. Just think about your chakras and just go through my root, my sacral, my solar plex, my heart, my throat, my third eye, my pineal, my crown. And you can feel how the emotion shifted, just even though all I was doing was talking about an event, you can feel how the emotion shifted just with doing that. You could feel the difference already. So doing something just as simple as that, or bringing in a color and then allowing it to fill yourself up, and then doing it with the second and third color too, is just a really nice way to bring yourself into a positive space, so that you are recognizing that this energy that's impacting you is not yours. Okay. So to go back to this the last stand area, that emotion that I was feeling was because that cavalry, those men were asked and really had no choice, but they were asked to kill their horses to protect themselves. They were asked to kill 39 horses. And those men loved those horses for the most part. Those men had relationships with those horses. Those men had fed, watered, groomed, taken care of those horses for not days before, but possibly years, and developed this incredible relationship with these horses. And were being asked to literally kill them right there on the spot, so that they could hide their bodies, their own personal bodies, and be protected and possibly survive. They didn't survive, none of them survived, but possibly survive. And it was that horror that I was feeling, was that connection that those men had in that moment when they realized what they had to do. And you can feel how it affects me still. So let's imagine a color coming in through our feet. How it's coming up to our knees. How it's coming up to our thighs, to our pelvis. Remembering to breathe, drawing that color up through the rib cage, up through the shoulders, arms and hands. Up through our neck and head and overflowing. Beautiful. You can choose to do the other two colors or not. It's entirely up to you. But you can also see how powerful, again, that simple exercise is when you are being caught up, as some of you may have been, by my emotion, because of course I have just been there and that emotion is coming through me still. When I was, one of my very first inklings of what I was capable of, and how connected I was, not necessarily how capable I was, but how connected I was 911. And it took me years to talk about that experience. And here I am, being as impacted by these horses being killed as I was by 911. And it's just, a week and a half later that I'm actually able to talk about it. So I thank goodness for having the tools to be able to handle it now. Go ahead, Barbara.
Hi. I just wanted to, I live only probably 13, 14 miles from Manhattan. And I was here at that time. And the thing is also, I understand now why before you shared this, when you were bringing us through a little color thing, I kept seeing all this blood. And it was before you told the story. And right now, I don't know who is or isn't aware of it, but since we are in a sacred container and we have the opportunity to send love and healing, there's a terrible fire going on in Paris right now, and part of Notre Dame Cathedral is burning and has collapsed. And so because there's a lot of energy here in this umbrella, we have the opportunity as empaths and healers, whatever we're called to be, to take a moment and send love, and send love to the wood, this ancient wood that has contained the prayers of so many, and the blood that's been shed in so many places, in so many ways, for things we'll never understand. But because we have these big, giant hearts, and we're all called here in this moment today, we have this opportunity in this circle to send love and ask the angels, and however anyone prays, to just connect and send love and pray for the highest good.
And as we're doing that, I just wanted to go ahead, Barbara.
There's just mystery beyond mystery beyond mystery in life. And one thing I know about being broken open through grief is that our hearts expand. And in that expansion, we're able to be greater than we ever were in moments. And I feel this is one of those moments. And because we have this opportunity right now to allow the grief to also expand our conduits of healing. And so I just ask that everyone be blessed in that way, and allow the breath to flow and the willingness to feel and heal be a light force in a good way.
Yeah. And as we're doing that as well, all of the angels who are there for the highest good and the most benevolent good, and any other guides, spirits, and that would like to come in and assist us in doing so, knowing too that they will continue to do the work even as we step back. And know that you are having the energy flowing through yourself. You are not providing the energy. The energy is literally flowing through you as it comes from a bigger, more divine, bigger space, an endless place. And so it is.
Oh.
Thank you so much for bringing that up, Barbara. Very much appreciated. I'm just going to provide a beautiful open pathway so that you get the answers that you're looking for by being open, with no expectations, no limitations, and being okay with that outcome. Now, a few of you are involved in some coaching that's coming up here. I'm really excited to be doing that with you. And one of you asked me about the coaching that I do. So I'll maybe talk a little bit about that. There's group and there's one-on-one coaching that's available. The one-on-one coaching is available on a 6-week, 3-month, and a 6-month basis. The coaching program that I have going is a 3-month, a 3-month, and then a 6-month. So essentially it's a year-long program, although it's broken down into 3 months, and then 3 months being, the first 3 months being level 1, the foundation. Then the next 3-month program is the level 2, which is having a prerequisite of level 1 to it. And then level 3 is the 6-month program. And there's a guest speaker at the end of each of the levels, and there's a graduation ceremony at the end of level 3. And you have the prerequisite of level 1 before you go into level 2, and level 1 and 2 before you go into level 3 with that coaching program. These ones that I'm working on right now are called the Empowering the Healer Within You. And that has it has very narrowed down points, but it also has a very broad aspect. Inside of each one of us is this incredible light being. And that soul, that light being that we are, has the ability to create incredible things for ourselves, both with our health as well as what we're capable of doing with other people. And even if you're just stepping into the program to do something that's just for yourself, that is beautiful, because this is such an incredible program that is set up for exactly that. It's for developing. That's what this level 1 is all about, that foundation. It really will help to walk you through things and really have that consistent 3 calls a month. And then at the end, we'll have a guest speaker at the end of level 1, and she's this beautiful lady who does sound healing. So just being able to finish all that up with this beautiful sound healing at the end for the group. So what happens too is when you're able to talk to me and to ask a lot more questions, I can give you a lot more information, and we can go from there. If you want a copy of this for yourself, then do drop your email into the chat here. And if you want to ask more questions about please do touch base with me and I'll tell you a little bit more. Essentially, that foundation is going to be delving into some of the stuff that we've really spoken about now and taking it a step further as well. So I'm really looking forward to this this unfolding, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So, okay, that's about it. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Sandra.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sandra.
You're
Love
welcome.
you.
Love you too, guys. Thank you, Maya.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Take care, everybody.
You too. Bye.
Lots of blessings.